October 15th, 1974. Johnny Carson was interviewing Muhammad Ali about his upcoming Rumble in the Jungle fight when Ali unexpectedly shifted the conversation away from boxing to something far more meaningful. What followed became one of the most candid discussions about race ever aired on television. The Tonight Show was in full swing that Tuesday evening, filled with excitement and anticipation. At 32 years old, Muhammad Ali, preparing for his legendary match against George Foreman in Zaire, walked onto the stage to overwhelming applause. He stood at the peak of both his fame and controversy, admired by millions, criticized by some, yet impossible for anyone to overlook. Johnny Carson had hosted Ali several times before, and their exchanges were always lively. Ali would share his witty poems, predict knockouts, and joke around with Johnny, creating unforgettable television moments. That night, the audience expected more of the same. Ali promoting his big fight, boasting about defeating Foreman, and charming viewers with his confidence and humor. But this night turned out to be different. What began as a routine interview evolved into an unscripted and deeply personal discussion, one that moved beyond sports to explore race, identity, and purpose in America. The segment opened exactly as planned. Ali made his entrance with trademark confidence, shadowboxing, smiling, and calling himself the greatest before even taking his seat. The crowd roared with laughter and applause. "Muhammad Ali," Johnny began with a grin. "You're about to face George Foreman in what everyone's calling the Rumble in the Jungle. Are you at all worried about going up against a younger, stronger fighter who's knocked out every opponent so far?" Ali leaned back with a relaxed smile. "Worried, Johnny? I'm so sure of myself. I've already written a poem about how I'll win. Want to hear it?" "Of course," Johnny replied, expecting the usual playful performance. Ali began reciting one of his famous rhymes, and the audience loved it. For the first 10 minutes, everything unfolded exactly as everyone anticipated. Ali was charming, confident, and effortlessly entertaining. And full of confidence, Johnny played the perfect counterpart, setting up Ali's humor while keeping the tone lively. But then, the direction of the conversation changed. Trying to move beyond the usual promotional talk, Johnny asked a question that, at first, seemed harmless. "Muhammad, you're heading to Africa for this fight. What does it mean to you, as a Black American, to be competing on African soil?" It sounded like an easy question, a chance for Ali to reflect on the location's significance. But instead of replying with his trademark wit, Ali paused. His smile faded, and for a few seconds, he sat quietly in thought. The studio audience, used to his quick comebacks, went silent. Johnny sensed something deeper was unfolding and waited. Finally, Ali spoke in a tone far more serious than before. "Can I tell you something real?" he asked. "Of course," Johnny replied, leaning forward with interest. "I'm scared," Ali said plainly. A quiet stir ran through the audience. Muhammad Ali, the man who called himself the greatest, the fighter who had never shown fear or hesitation, had just admitted he was afraid on national television. "I'm not scared of George Foreman," Ali clarified. "I'm not afraid of any man in the ring. But I'm scared of what's happening in this country. I'm scared of what my children will face. I'm scared that everything I'm fighting for, not just in boxing, but for my people, might not be enough." Johnny's face reflected real surprise. This wasn't the showman the world knew. This was a rare moment of honesty. "What do you mean?" Johnny asked softly. Ali took a deep breath before continuing, speaking with a sincerity that caught everyone off guard. "Johnny, when I go to Africa, I'm going somewhere where Black people are in charge, where they run the government, own the businesses, and make the decisions. Do you know how unusual that is for someone like me to witness?" He paused briefly, then continued, his words flowing more quickly. "Here in America, I'm Muhammad Ali, heavyweight champion of the world. I've got money, fame, and recognition. But you know what, Johnny? I still can't walk into certain restaurants in parts of this country. I still get called names. My children still hear people say terrible things about their father, just because I refuse to go to Vietnam." The studio audience was completely silent now. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was honesty. What Johnny Carson did next showed why he was regarded as one of television's finest interviewers. Instead of trying to lighten the mood, crack a joke, or steer the conversation back to boxing, he simply said, "Tell me more." Those 3 words opened the door for one of the most genuine conversations ever aired on The Tonight Show. For the next 20 minutes, Muhammad Ali spoke openly about his experiences with racism, his conversion to Islam, his opposition to the Vietnam War, and his hopes for the future, more candidly than in any interview before. He recalled being Cassius Clay, a young Olympic gold medalist, who returned to his hometown of Louisville only to be denied service at a restaurant. He described the moment he threw his Olympic medal into the Ohio River in frustration. "People ask me why I changed my name," Ali said. "They want to know why Cassius Clay wasn't good enough. But Cassius Clay was a slave name, Johnny. It belonged to a white man who owned my ancestors. Muhammad Ali is my name. It's the name I chose, not one given to me by someone else." He spoke about refusing the draft during the Vietnam War, a decision that cost him his boxing license and his heavyweight title at the height of his career. "They wanted me to go to Vietnam and kill people I had no problem with," Ali explained. "They wanted me to fight for freedom in another country when I didn't have full freedom in my own. So I said no, and it cost me everything I worked for." His voice softened but carried conviction. "But you know what, Johnny? I don't regret it. Some things matter more than boxing, more than money, fame, or popularity. There are times when you have to stand for what's right, even if it costs you everything." The audience, who had come expecting light entertainment, found themselves witnessing something deeply meaningful. Many were moved to tears. Some nodded in agreement, while others looked uneasy, confronted by truths rarely spoken so openly on television. Johnny Carson, to his credit, didn't interrupt. He asked thoughtful questions, listened attentively, and allowed Ali the space to express himself without steering the conversation or softening his words. At one point, Johnny said, "Muhammad, I think many people watching may not fully understand the choices you've made. Some see you as controversial, even divisive. What would you say to them?" Ali looked directly into the camera. "I'd tell them that being liked by everyone was never my goal. My goal has always been to stay true to myself and to what I believe in. I want young black children to know they don't have to accept what society tells them they are. They can become whatever they choose." He paused, then continued with quiet conviction. "I'm going to Africa to fight George Foreman, but that's not the real fight. The real fight is here in America, trying to make this country live up to its promises. The real fight is proving that someone who looks like me, believes what I believe, and stands for what I stand for, can still be called the greatest." After the long and heartfelt exchange, Ali seemed to realize how personal he had become. He looked at Johnny and smiled lightly. "Man, I came here to promote a fight, and now I'm getting all serious. Your viewers probably want to change the channel." But Johnny shook his head. "Muhammad, this is the most important interview I've done in a long time. This is you being honest, being real, more than just a boxer. This is what television should be." The audience broke into applause, not the loud, playful cheering that had greeted Ali earlier, but something more genuine and respectful. They weren't applauding the greatest. They were applauding the man behind the title. Ali, clearly moved, wiped his eyes. "You got me all emotional, Johnny," he said with a soft laugh. "This wasn't supposed to happen." Johnny smiled and replied, "Sometimes, Muhammad, the best moments aren't supposed to happen." Ali smiled and replied, "They just do." For the final few minutes of the interview, he returned to his usual charm, making predictions about the Foreman fight and keeping the audience entertained with his wit. But something had changed. Everyone watching now understood that behind the confidence, the poetry, and the boasts was a man confronting struggles far greater than any inside the boxing ring. As the interview wrapped up, Johnny stood and shook Ali's hand. "Muhammad, thank you for being honest with us tonight. I think you taught us something important." "What's that?" Ali asked. "That being the greatest isn't just about winning fights," Johnny said. "It's about having the courage to stand up for something, even when it costs you everything." Ali nodded, visibly moved. "Thank you for letting me be real, Johnny. Not everyone does." The public reaction to the interview was immediate and divided. Some viewers called NBC to complain that Johnny had allowed Ali to turn the show into a discussion about race and politics. They said they wanted entertainment, not social commentary. But many more reached out to thank Carson for creating space for one of the most honest conversations about race ever shown on television. Letters poured in. Black viewers wrote that they had never heard their experiences reflected so clearly on national TV. White viewers shared that the interview opened their eyes to perspectives they'd never considered. Television critics praised it as a masterclass in authentic interviewing. Journalism professors began using the footage to teach students the power of asking a simple question, "Tell me more," and truly listening. 3 weeks later, Muhammad Ali defeated George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, using his now famous rope-a-dope strategy to tire out the younger fighter before knocking him out in the 8th round. It became one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. But for those who had watched his appearance on The Tonight Show, the victory carried a deeper meaning. It symbolized everything Ali had told Johnny that night, that greatness isn't just about skill, but about standing by your beliefs, no matter the cost. Years later, long after Ali had retired and was living with Parkinson's disease, he returned to The Tonight Show for a reunion with Carson. When Johnny mentioned that 1974 interview, Ali smiled. "You know, Johnny, I've done thousands of interviews in my life," he said, his speech slower, but his presence still strong. "But that night on your show was one of the few times I felt like I could truly say what I thought and felt. You didn't try to turn me into a character or a headline. You just let me be me." Johnny, visibly touched, replied, "Muhammad, you taught me something that night. You showed me that the best interviews happen when you stop trying to entertain and start trying to understand." That October 1974 conversation is now recognized by historians as one of the most significant televised discussions on race in American history. It proved that entertainment could tackle serious social issues without losing its audience. The moment reshaped how future talk show hosts approached controversial guests and showed that authenticity and vulnerability could create more powerful television than any scripted moment. Sports journalists often refer to it as a turning point in how athletes discuss social issues. Ali's honesty and courage, and the audience's overwhelmingly positive reaction, paved the way for future generations of athletes to use their platforms for advocacy. Muhammad Ali and Johnny Carson came from two very different worlds. Ali, the outspoken black athlete challenging America's social norms, and Carson, the white Midwestern host representing mainstream entertainment. Yet, that October night, they found common ground through honesty, empathy, and respect. Ali showed that being the greatest went beyond winning titles. It meant having the courage to speak about fear, injustice, and humanity. And Johnny showed that great television isn't always about laughs or spectacle. Sometimes, it's about creating space for truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Their unscripted moment of honesty became one of television's finest examples of what happens when entertainment stops performing and starts being real. If this story of truth and courage inspired you, subscribe for more real moments where legends revealed their true selves. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that vulnerability is strength. And tell us in the comments about a time when someone's honesty changed how you see the world.